New adult, paranormal. All right, so you can see there's all kinds of different genres in there. But what I'm going to do is go back to an all. All is all subgenres, genres within romance, but it also can mean all genres. It's basically a free-for-all everything, which is, I would suggest you never, ever, ever enter those, because you get all kinds of weird people who aren't going to be your target audience. December Happily Ever After Romance Newsletter Builder. That sounds nice. Promos for building your newsletter. Yep. 1 book, 100 slots. I need a book funnel reputation of more than 30. I do have that. So I'm going to join that one. I'll submit their form in a second, but I'm just going to show you how this works. So the book that I'm selecting is The Hidden Duchess, number 2, just the second version that I've done on it. The link that I want to submit, because these are all linked to the book, I want that non-organic signups, Hidden Duchess. That's the one that I just created. My name, my email. This is my reputation. I've participated in 3 promos and sent an average of 83 readers. So my reputation is well and truly over 30. I'll say when I'm going to share it, which will be the 1st of December. That's when my newsletter goes out. And if I want to talk to the promoter in here, I can. And I have done that on behalf of clients before, when they haven't had a promotion score, but they've been somebody that it would be absolutely stupid for the promoter not to have on their list. So I've written in there that they've only just started on BookFunnel, but they're international best-selling author, blah, 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 blah. And strangely enough, those people have always said, yeah, sure, join the promo. So you fill in all the bits, join promo. And our book has been submitted to the promotion. Now, for this, I should really go back in and sign up their additional information thing, and I will do that later, not as part of the thing here. So from this, the last time I did one of these, I'll show you the promos that I've previously done. All right, so welcome to Book Club Historical Romances. That was one that I did in October. And that one, I shared 194 times across my different platforms, and I got 272 claims. So that's 272 people who signed up to my newsletter on the basis of that promo. I've found the numbers stay up around that unless you try to go in a general one, in which case you don't get those numbers, because the people who are going to look at them aren't necessarily looking for romance books. So the specific romance promos are going to give you at least 100, if not a couple of 100 people on your list. And they are targeted to a point, because this is historical romances. So that is my target market. But if you just go into like an all romance type of one, it might be something, you know, you might not have as many of your target market in there. Of course, if you don't write romance, which some of us don't, some of us write women's fiction or other stuff with romantic elements, there's all the other different promo groups that you could go into. General fiction, that's where your women's lit goes in. Non-fiction stuff, romance. I'm not sure that there is specifically poetry. There's poetry there. So you can go into specific poetry ones. All right. So I think we're reaching near the end of this now. It's been a big session full of information, and it's a lot of stuff to take in. But it's also worth it. It just works really nicely together. So the things that we've learned about today have been that you can use organic and non-organic strategies. Organic strategies are those where the reader has already heard of you and will always be a slow build. Non-organic strategies are needed to quickly boost your audience numbers, but if you're happy to go the slow route, just stick with the organic strategies. You don't have to boost your numbers quickly. For non-organic, you can use competitions to build your list quickly and then use the other services to get better quality people onto your list. And no matter what you're doing, you should be thinking about how your communications affect your audience. Always be thinking about those positive somatic markers. They're just so important when building a good, solid, receptive audience. So on Thursday, I thought we might see if we can organise a book funnel giveaway amongst ourselves if you want to, or newsletter swaps, or if you don't want to do those, there's no pressure. But if we want to play with that, we can. And obviously then we'll be talking more about what we've been talking about today. Would I have done, Vicky's asked the question, which I think is the next. No, give me 2 slides, Vicky, and then I'll answer it. Thursday's live Facebook is obviously going to be at 7:30. And then we've got the questions and comments one. So Vicky's asked, would you have done anything differently? At the time, I would not have. It was great to get 3,000 people on my list really quickly. It meant that I could do a lot of stuff and test a lot of stuff and play with a lot of stuff. But now you'll notice that my list is 1,200. And I'm happy to have a little bit more control over the type of people who are coming into it. Those 3,000, of those 3,000, I specifically closed that list down. I said to them, I'm not going to be writing historical romance anymore. That was funny. That was an interesting day. I did continue to write historical romance, just in case you're wondering. But I did tell them I was not going to do it anymore. And this will be the last newsletter. And there's a button here if you want to stay on my list for when I move over and write fantasy. And of the 3,000 people, I'd already culled, I think, about half of them, and 80 of them came with me. So there were really only 80 people who were engaged on that list who were connected to me, not connected to historical romance. There was probably 1,500 who were connected to historical romance as a genre and me as something within there. So the only thing that I would do differently and that I have done differently is to be much more careful with getting a lot of people on the list who aren't really interested in what I'm writing. So I did a couple of competitions. So I got 1,000 people from that in one foul swoop. Actually, it was 700 and 700, I think. So that was half of my list, but most of those people just weren't even interested. So that's what I do differently. I just be more in control of who's coming onto my list. Does anybody else have any questions? Does that answer your question, Vicky? Sorry about that noise. That was me drinking a cup of tea. It's actually mostly cold. But my voice is starting to give out. So does anybody else have any questions for me? It does, yes, it does mean that you'd go slower. It means your build time is slower. It means that you don't get to go on those good newsletters and promos as quickly. But it does mean that the quality of the subs that you have is much higher. But that is also why I suggested that you do your competition first, you get your crappy ones on, and then you've got the numbers to do the better ones, and then you can cull off those less good ones. People who have lists of, 10 to 15,000 are constantly culling. I hope we see you on Thursday, Lou. All right, so just before we close up the session, I want to say how amazing it's been to be part of your newsletter journeys. Even during the course, I've learned stuff that I didn't already know, so thank you all for that. How long can we, okay, give me a second. I believe that the videos remain on Moodle for about 6 months, so you should have access to them for a while. And I'm nearly always on Facebook somewhere, so if you have any questions, go ahead and ask me. And there is one other thing. So when the OWL ladies ask you to provide feedback on the course, I hope you'll give me a lovely big fat tick, because then they'll let me run more courses, which is always fun. But if you think I didn't do a great job, and you're entitled to think that if I missed something important or did something wrong or something didn't work for you, please feed that back as well, because I need to hear that so that I can improve the courses that I'm providing. So I hope to see you on Thursday for the last Facebook session and the last session of the entire course. But until then, thank you and good night.